Dr. Rube.
But I have a big appreciation for the Bulldogs and what you guys are doing here. Why don't you give yourselves a round of applause? This is wonderful. Thank you all very much. So, my wife, Macy, and I, we've lived here in Edmond, been married, be 10 years in August. And thank you. And about 4.5 years ago, we started a new journey in our life with our little girl, Ellie. Ellie's 4.5, and she's our first and our only as of right now. But in September of 2012, we started this journey. And about 3 months into it, we went to the hospital for what we thought was just a normal RSV visit. A lot of little kids get RSV and upper respiratory infections. So we went into the hospital not really knowing what the next 4 years would hold for us. So we were in discussions with a nurse at the hospital about some concerns she had had. And of course, this was a nurse that had seen hundreds of pediatric patients over the years. She knew exactly what she was looking for, and I'm sure it was a tough conversation for her to have with us, but she brought some things to our attention that we weren't really privy to. And one of those was Ellie's inability to track moving objects with her eyes. And this was just one of a few things that we had kind of thought about but never given much credit to. But her recommendation was to get in touch with a neurologist and an ophthalmologist, and that's exactly what we did. And we met with Dr. Jennifer Norman. She's a pediatric neurologist with the Integris Network, and she's been absolutely wonderful. But she had some news for us in that coming month that we weren't expecting and certainly weren't prepared to take. We had some testing done, an EEG on Ellie, and it came back fairly positive. Everything looked to be pretty normal. So we were a bit stumped within about 3 weeks when we started experiencing what appeared to be kind of a hiccup movement and some jerking that Ellie was doing. So we went back, and unfortunately we got results that go around that weren't so good. Ellie had an infant form of epilepsy referred to as infantile spasms. And we immediately had our world turned upside down. We started a Gold Star treatment, which happened to be steroid injections. And you know, it's hard enough to have a firstborn and a mother try to deal with the normal ins and outs of what it takes to raise a baby. But when you have to give your infant injections every day, it was just not anything we were prepared to do. Fortunately, after about 8 weeks of treatment, we were able to get the spasms under control, but they did come back about a month later. And they led to intractable epilepsy. Epilepsy is something that's known to change forms, and unfortunately, a lot of times there's not a known treatment. And intractable basically describes that it can't be treated with mainstream medications and so forth. So the next 6 months of our life were spent with trips back and forth to Houston. We sought the help of a specialist at Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. They have a wonderful team down there. They did great things for us. But unfortunately, we still had no diagnosis for Ellie. Epilepsy is really kind of a primary symptom. It's the nuisance that bothers us every day. But it's not the source of the problem. And that's what we really wanted to aim to do. And so we had a whole exome sequencing done, which is basically just a mapping of Ellie's entire genetic chain. And we found at that time that Ellie actually had a gene defect in a rare gene called STX4. But unfortunately, there was no diagnosis or human significance to a defect in that gene. So as a new parent, you're not prepared to accept the fact that the medical community may not be able to tell you what's wrong with your daughter. But that's essentially what happened. So fast forward, here we are 4.5 years later, and we still don't know. Leanne was actually the first person to reach out to my wife after we got the infantile spasms diagnosis. And it was at that time that we were brought into the foundations world. And it was really a great comfort for us to know that there were others out there who had experienced what we had experienced. We attended our first lecture series about 4 years ago. And at that time, we found it extremely insightful. Despite not knowing what was going on with Ellie, it was a platform that we really came to appreciate. There was a lot of information that was provided for those that knew about epilepsy and those that didn't. So the tool was wonderful, and we could really see the passion in Leanne and Renzai both, and just the passion that the staff had. We also attended the No Stone Unturned event for the first time that year and had a blast. And I knew that when they approached me a few months ago about becoming a member of the board, I was flattered, and it was an easy answer. And so today, I'm hoping that we can find what's going on with Ellie. And at some point, I believe we will. In the meantime, we continue to be advocates to try to find something that will control her epilepsy. She's been through 18 anti-epileptic medications. They administered the ketogenic diet when we were in Houston for that first year. And in addition to that, we've had a vagal nerve stimulator. I mean, we've ran the gamut. So what I want to make clear today is two things. Number one, when something like this happens, it's important to understand that it can happen to anybody. And with that being said, there are foundations like the Isaiah Stone Foundation that can provide help and guidance for these sorts of things. And that's really the most beneficial thing that we've had from this whole process, is just having the proverbial hand to hold on to through this entire process. So the second thing is an appreciation for the perspective we have on life. You know, for a good year and a half, and I sat in your shoes over 15 years ago, which sounds really crazy to think about. I am an old man now, but I never once thought that I would have a child with special needs. And I would challenge everybody in this room today to really look deep into your hearts and understand that there's an appreciation we can have for people that might be a little bit different, and a perspective they can give us on life that is unlike any perspective we've ever experienced. So I think the Isaiah Stone Foundation is a great platform to help open the eyes of the world to what needs to be done and what can be done. So I just want to tell you guys that the ISF lecture series has been great for us. The No Stone Unturned event has been great for us, but this being Swine Week recipients, and I think I speak on behalf of the board, is perhaps the biggest thing that we've experienced at the foundation. And I want to thank all of you. Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of it. I walked in here today and I was just in awe. We didn't do anything like this at Santa Fe to this magnitude. Yeah. So, big pat on the back to you guys. I will let you know, and I'll close with this. The ISF has had a wonderful effort in presenting opportunities locally to families in need with epilepsy, that are struggling with epilepsy. All of the funds for these grants come from events like this. In addition to that, they contribute to Cure Epilepsy, which is the leading non-governmental agency committed to funding research. So One of these days, I believe we'll find something that will help Ellie and many like her. But until then, you guys keep up the good work. This is wonderful. Thank you for having me today. Enjoy the rest of your